Truth is, as artists, we are never done learning. Doesn't make sense to call yourself an artist if you don't study the greats. There's nothing new under the sun. Welcome to the Chasing Genius Show. I'm your host, Crystal, and this is the #1 show for creatives in pursuit of their own creative geniuses. Today, we're going to be talking about why every creative needs to study. We all need to study. We all need to do our homework. We all need to be studying and building up our arsenal of what exactly our style of creativity is. Truth is, as artists, we are never done learning. And I think we are in this interesting place where, as artists, we try to, we're paving our own way, right? And we are doing our best to be inspired, but to not steal everything that is made by someone we're inspired by, right? And it's I am inspired by this artist, but I still got to find my own way. So I still got to do things in my own way. I still got to find what my voice is in order to make an impact in the industry that I'm in. But at the same time, it's how are you going to get better if you never practice and if you never study, right? So as a photographer, your camera is your main tool in your toolkit. You have to know everything there is to know about your camera, where the settings are, how to change your aperture, how to change your shutter speed, how to change the ISO. You also got to understand what lighting settings does my camera work best in? What environment does my camera not shine in? It is very important as an artist to understand your tool and understand the rules of whatever field or industry you're in so that it doesn't become in the way of what you're trying to do. If I don't know my camera and if I don't understand how to do certain lighting techniques, it's gonna be in the way for me to be able to do the things that I want to do. A lot of times people say oh, rules are meant to be broken, I could do it my own way. And yes, that is very true, but you learn the technical things of your field so that you can break them and know why you're breaking them and actually understand I'm actually breaking this rule because I want to get this feeling or I want to tell this kind of story. The only way you're going to be able to do that is if you study the greats. It doesn't make sense to call yourself an artist if you don't study the greats. If you don't do your homework. You won't know if something's been done before, but you also won't know the techniques that was used in order to make that thing happen. And it's like saying, I want to be a writer, but I hate reading. So how are you training your mind to understand what good writing is? How are you learning how different authors portray things? You don't want to just stop by the people you're inspired by, but you want to keep digging deeper. Who are the people you're inspired by? Who inspires Pharrell? Who inspires Timbaland? Who inspires Joe K, my favorite selection DJ of all time, right? And in doing so, you're kind of building this tunnel of mentors who you can then shape your style around, because picking little things here and there ultimately creates your individuality as an artist. But you have to be able to study. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do this thing and then not do a deep dive on all the other people who have done this thing. There's nothing new under the sun. The only difference is that the person who makes it and the way it's coming out from them and how they're telling it. But the truth is, there is nothing new under the sun. So just knowing that alone is okay, I don't have to feel like I'm reinventing this wheel, but I can pull from my influences to now create this big thing. And I think also as artists, we kind of struggle with this idea of practicing. As artists, we are also supposed to practice. And I think it's not as cookie cutter as an athlete or a basketball player or a soccer player practicing certain things to get better through drill work, through footwork, through practicing the same shots over and over again. But I think we can take bits and pieces of an athlete practicing their game for as an artist practicing. You know, if we keep putting ourselves in the same conditions, at some point we're going to be able to remember what worked and what didn't, right? And as artists, it's very important for us to make time to practice. When we first started something, we're not good. And the only way we're going to get good is if we keep doing this thing. So, that being said, I think I would definitely challenge you this week to, one, figure out who you're inspired by, then find who those guys are inspired by and study their work. And it's deeper than just saying, oh, this is a nice image and this is pretty and I like this, but to understand their ethos of creating. Why were they making images, or why were they making art? What kind of stories did they want to tell? How were they able to portray that in their body of work? And as you're taking notes, ask yourself the same question for your own projects and work. How can I embody this style, or how can I try this out in my own work? And as you continue to study, it will start to become innate to you, because now you're studying your tools and what's in your toolkit, and then you're also studying people you're inspired by. And in doing those things together, you're able to then find your own creative style, because creative style isn't just gonna come from the sky. Like, we're not gonna wake up one day and be like, oh my God, I know exactly what my creative style is without doing anything. It doesn't work like that. You have to figure out and learn from other people, and then add on top of that, you know, and add your own flair to it. And that's the only way you'll be able to develop your creative eye, your artistic eye, your style, is by constantly bombarding it with so much from your mentors and the work of the mentors that you found for yourself, because no two people are going to have the same inspiration. Like, all of my inspiration aren't just photographers either. You know, I have my own personal background being Nigerian. There are things that I learned when I went to school in Nigeria that influence my style of work and the kind of stories that I want to tell. We are a combination of all the things that we are inspired by, and the things that we look up to, and the things that motivate us to create. And that's just what it means to be an artist. You know, you still gotta follow the people who paved the way in order to pave your own way and to create your own path and to trudge along the path that is meant for you. Make room for yourself to be a beginner. Give yourself grace to not be good at something. The whole point of having a passion or having something that we love is to know that in the beginning of it, we're not as good. And then over time, we build and develop that confidence to become better at that thing, where now the problem isn't, oh, do I understand my camera settings? But now the problem is, what kind of stories do I want to tell? And just like that, we've reached the end of today's episode. I hope you learned a little something, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for listening. Peace.